Hey y'all, today is part 7 to our Crypto 101 series, and today we're going to be going over Bitcoin mining and the mining of other cryptocurrencies. But before we get started, welcome back to Getting Digital with Deja. So we're going to first go over the textbook definition of mining as in the crypto world mining. So mining is the process of confirming transactions and adding them to the blockchain, okay? Now, in order to do this, you're going to have nodes. And I don't know if y'all remember from my past videos in this series what a node is. I'm going to see if y'all remember it. Oh my God, great job. You remembered that a node is essentially computers with the Bitcoin software on it. It doesn't have to be specifically Bitcoin software, but we're going to be talking about Bitcoin mining today. So when I refer to nodes, I'm talking about computers with the Bitcoin software. But nodes do not just have to be in relation to Bitcoin. It could be all type of different nodes for all different type of cryptocurrencies. So as a part of mining in Bitcoin, new Bitcoin is going to be added on the blockchain, and the miners are going to be rewarded in Bitcoin. Now, miners are the people who are trying to solve this problem to be able to add it on the blockchain. Sounds weird, but we're about to get into it. So first things first, where people getting confused, including myself. I didn't know this until I did the deep research dive into it. Yeah, talking about any. Yeah, but when you have a Bitcoin transaction, it doesn't just go through the software and stuff like that and then gets added to the blockchain. No, it actually goes through something called a memory pool, or a mem pool for short. And we're gonna go over that. So every node on the Bitcoin network shares information about new transactions. So when transactions are made within the Bitcoin network, it is first collected and stored inside of the memory pool, not on the blockchain. It has to first go through the memory pool, then it can go to the blockchain after verification. Memory pools can be looked as a temporary storage area or unit for transactions that are made on the Bitcoin network. Every Bitcoin node has its own memory pool, and this memory pool can have up to thousands of transactions stored inside of that memory pool. Now that I went over that a little bit, I'm going to give you the textbook definition of a memory pool as in regards to crypto. And it's essentially an organized queue where transactions are stored and sorted before being added to a newly created block on the blockchain. The memory pool holds fresh or unconfirmed transactions stored as individual transactions. Now, the blockchain holds archived or confirmed transactions in the form of blocks. And those blocks are linked together with chains, which are going to be hashes. You guys, we're gonna go through all of this, but I'm just introducing it very slow. So essentially, all Bitcoin transactions are unconfirmed and go through a memory pool before they can be confirmed and be onto the blockchain. So it has to first go through a memory pool, be sorted, be confirmed, and then it can go to the blockchain. So it's not an immediate transfer from transaction to blockchain. No, there's a lot of work that goes into it. I did do a previous video on Bitcoin, but I'm gonna do another video on Bitcoin. But essentially in that video, I was saying how it takes a lot of energy and power and brain power to be able to solve these problems, these cytographic problems, to be able to add it on the blockchain. So that's why it's in the memory pool, where a whole bunch of miners and a whole bunch of computers are all racing essentially to solve this cytographic problem to be able to add it on the blockchain so that they can be rewarded in Bitcoin. It's like a video game almost. Whoever gets it first gets rewarded, but everybody has access to the same exact transaction list. So it's just a matter of who can solve it first. So a Bitcoin miner is a full node. It has to utilize a full node. Now, the textbook definition of full node, it's a little bit long, okay guys? Is a computer program that downloads and validates the entire blockchain history for a specific cryptocurrency. In this case, we're gonna be talking about Bitcoin. Acting as a backbone for network security, decentralization, and integrity by independently verifying all transactions and rules, enforce consensus rules, maintains an accurate compute ledger, and relays new data, making the network resilient and preventing single points of failure or control. All miners are nodes, but not all nodes are miners. A Bitcoin miner can operate without running a node, but a full node isn't necessarily a miner, okay? So, miner and full nodes are different. Do they kind of like cross paths and kind of like overlap? Yes, of course they do, but it's not the same thing. You can't just combine it all into one. So I know that was a pretty long and like wordy definition of what a full node is, but essentially what a full node does is it just downloads everything from the blockchain that has anything to do with whatever cryptocurrency you're talking about, which is going to be Bitcoin. So that means every single transaction of the Bitcoin network will be downloaded on this node, to where it's creating full transparency and like security as well, because that blockchain history is going to be the same exact for every single node on the network. Nothing is going to be changed. If anything tries to be tampered with, if anybody tries to change anything in it, it's going to completely like show within the blockchain. Things are not going to match, things are not going to add up, and you know, you can just compare it to the right blockchain history of someone else, of another full node, and you'll see, oh, like this has been tampered with. So that's why they consider blockchain to be like really secure and safe and things like that. Yeah, so the reason why these nodes are downloading all of the blockchain history for this cryptocurrency, for Bitcoin, is because it's going to need that to be able to validate future transactions and to go back and like confirm past transactions on top of that. Everything has to match on the blockchain for every single person. And even though a miner is an individual and they can solve this cytographic problem, which will be added, which will add a new block or a new Bitcoin onto the system, onto the blockchain, that information is going to be shared with all of the nodes. So it's not just going to be that person's blockchain or that person's node that's going to be updated. No, it's going to show across the entire network, across the entire blockchain, which is why every single node has to have this downloaded blockchain information for the entire network, the Bitcoin network, in order for them to be able to be a miner, because you have to have past transactions to be able to solve future and present transactions. They all are linked together, which is why you have that chain. These blocks, which are transactions, are all linked together by past transactions. Link, block. Past transaction, present transaction. So the textbook definition for the difference between a full node and a minor node is, while the full node will receive, store, and broadcast transactions to other nodes, a minor node will do the same, but it will also try to create new blocks of transactions, which is what I just went over, and then attempt to broadcast them to other nodes who will then either accept or reject the new block. A miner mines the transactions from the memory pool onto its file, aka the blockchain. So you can think of the blockchain as a computer file for that node, okay? They're trying to add things to that computer file that they already have stored in a central location, which is going to be the memory pool. Whew, you guys, I feel like I have been talking up a storm, and this is a lot of like technicalities that we're going through. Like, whew, Had to take a drink, you guys. Side note, if you're not drinking chlorophyll water, what are you doing? If your water don't be green sometimes, what are you doing? Also, if you're not drinking water tree, are you even drinking water? I'm just kidding, you guys. I'm just kidding. I like my bougie water, but I was thirsty. Okay, now we're going back to the video. So, part 2 to this. Okay, so we went over that a miner gets those transactions from the memory pool and then adds them onto the blockchain. But what exactly does it do with those transactions? Like, it just gets them and adds them to the blockchain? No, it has to go through the memory pool, and it pulls those transactions from the memory pool and puts it inside of a candidate block. Now, I feel like this is really easy to remember because a candidate block, just take the word candidate. That's essentially like, it's a candidate. We're trying to see if we want you or not, if we're going to verify you or not, if you're going to be added, or if you're going to have this placement to this specific position, which is going to be on the blockchain or not. So this is a candidate block. And this is where all of those memory pool transactions are going to go first, the miner is going to create a candidate block. Now we're going to get deep inside the candidate block and we're going to break it down piece by piece, but I'm going to give you the textbook definition of a candidate block. And you guys, side note, the reason why I'm giving so many textbook definitions for this stuff is because it's so technical. I don't want to say anything wrong and then be like railed inside of the comments and then have to come defend my integrity. I've done it before, so y'all are getting textbook. All right, so the textbook definition for a candidate block is a temporary block that's created using transactions selected from the memory pool. Temporary because it is not yet a valid block. Only blocks that have actually been added to the blockchain, which is what the miner is trying to do, are considered valid blocks. So let's do a deep dive inside of a candidate block, you guys. And I really don't think that anybody on YouTube for real is going to do this for anybody. It's going to do this for y'all, but y'all my homies, y'all the homegirls. Like, I am doing this for y'all because I want y'all to know every single thing about crypto. Like, who on YouTube really talking about candidate blocks and like breaking it down for y'all? I'm pretty sure there might be somebody on there if you like Google it or whatever, but I'm creating a whole series for you guys. So I really hope that y'all like paying attention, because all this stuff is actually important. And then you can go and you can talk about crypto with the crypto people and really know your shit. Okay, so on that side note, you have a candidate block, which is in two parts. You have the candidate header and you have the candidate body. So now I'm about to break that down to you. So a candidate block doesn't just hold the transactions from the memory pool. The body of the candidate block holds those transactions, but there's also more metadata that goes into that as well that is concerning those transactions. So let's go over metadata, the textbook definition in terms of like mining. So metadata. Data that provides information about other data. In this case, the metadata provides information about the block itself. This is known as the block header. Inside the block header, there are many parts of data. So that's why it's called metadata, because it's so much data that's going to be going into that. So the body holds the transactions, and then you're going to have the header, which is going to hold the metadata, which is a summary of the characteristics of the transactions. And when I refer to blocks, essentially I'm talking about transactions. So a part of that metadata is going to be a timestamp, and a timestamp is just when the block was created or when the transaction was created. That is going to be inside of the header. So the next thing is going to be the previous block hash. We went over hashing in my last video. If you don't know what that is, please check it out. But it's going to be the previous block hash. Now, the current block that they're trying to create has to be added on top of the previous block hash, and that's going to be connected through a link, okay? So the previous block hash is literally just the hash of the previous transaction. And you guys remember what a hash is? Essentially, it's just like a cryptified summary of whatever that transaction was. Put it into a hash function and it's going to give you a hash output, which is going to be just like a description of everything, but it's going to be in a cryptographic way to where you cannot decipher what the heck it even talks about. But you're going to need that in order to create the next block. So you're going to have the previous block hash information, and then you have the link, which is going to link it together, and then it's going to be the current one that you're trying to solve, which is going to be the current block. So block equals transaction. Previous transaction, current transaction. Goes on top, linked together with a chain. Which is why it's called blockchain. Now next is going to be the transaction summary hash. And that's going to take the transactions and the hashes and all the information of all the Bitcoin transactions, and it's going to put it into one single hash, okay? And that's going to be, so basically it's going to be the history of the blockchain put into one hash, and it's going to be inside of the header of the candidate block. Okay, so remember the candidate block, you have a header and then you have the body. The body holds the transactions, the header holds all the metadata that I just went over. Now inside of the header, you're also going to have bits and you're going to have a nonce. Now we're going to talk about that on Friday because I'm going to do a part 2 to the Bitcoin mining. But bits is essentially just the difficulty of the mining, and a nonce is like a whole different thing, y'all. Like that's like a whole topic to go over, but just remember that nonce and bits are also included in this header. Okay. Now, hopping back to the transaction summary hash, that hash literally is so important because it serves as a digital fingerprint to the network, to all the transactions that have been placed on the Bitcoin network or whatever cryptocurrency network that we're going to be going over. Now, remember, when it comes to hashes, if you make one change in the data that goes inside of the hash function, no matter if it's a period or a number missing or anything, it's going to produce a completely different hash. Completely different, like can't even be compared. Now, the reason why this is really good is it serves as a source of security, because if anybody tries to go within the blockchain and change anything on the blockchain, it's going to produce a different hash summary, a different transaction summary hash. So essentially, it's creating a whole new fingerprint, and anybody with the original transaction list and everything, which is basically going to be everybody who has access to that blockchain data, is going to see that it has been tampered with. And because it's not going to match the original hash, it's not going to match the original transaction summary. So then it's going to be like, okay, something has went wrong here and it's been tampered with. No. Now, you guys, I am going to stop right here for today because I feel like that was a lot of information that I want you guys to actually like rewatch this video. And I'm not saying that because I want more views. No, I want y'all to actually rewatch this video, because when I go into more detail on Friday, it's going to get even more technical about this Bitcoin mining. But the reason why I want to get technical with this is because this is considered proof of work. And so that means like POW. Not only Bitcoin cryptocurrency uses POW, so I want you guys to understand what POW means, so that when you see that other cryptocurrencies like Dogecoin uses POW, know exactly what's happening within that process of those coins being created. So we will be doing part 2 on Friday. Just 2 more days, you guys. I hope you guys can't wait that long. Oh my gosh. But no, you guys, I always want y'all to remember that pretty girls can do crypto too. See you guys on Friday.